Shalom. All praises and glory be unto Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah Bashem Kakwadash, the unto the other apostles, and honors and citations to you, Akim, is laboring. Right, shalom to the whole elected nation of Israel. This is from Blackington News. It says, or it's entitled, "The Culture War Has a New Target, Independence Day." And I'm pretty much putting this up raw, so bear with me. And Slakia, the background is going to be noisy, uh, what's going on this weekend, so a lot of simple-minded Negroes and Latinos and Native Americans going to be letting off fireworks, especially um, in the inner city. So bear with me with the noise in the background. All right, so continuing on, let's get into the article. It says, once upon a time in America, journalists wrote holiday pieces out of desperation. In a world where amusement parks and beaches beckon, where businesses carpet bombed consumers with holiday sales ads, recreation and crass commercialism overmatched the remembrance of important historical persons and events. The holiday pieces were regarded were regard actions, ways to recall Americans to the reason for the season. Now these holiday defenders are even more badly outnumbered. The left's culture warriors have supplanted commercials as the chief enemy of public memory. They don't aim to hijack commemoration days to serve their commercial ends. They aim to erase the meaning of these holidays altogether. Consider the efforts of the Randolph School Board in New Jersey. They wanted to remove Columbus Day from the school calendar, renaming the holiday to, and it's not a holiday by the way, to Indigenous People Day, where parents pushed back. The board, acting out of spite, voted to rid of all holiday names, just calling them days off. That triggered national attention and even greater pushback after a lengthy meeting with angry parents. The board abandoned the whole renaming exercise. The left lost that skirmish, but they'll be back. Now, I'm going to jump down a little bit because as I was reading, I kind of skimmed at the same time. I caught the part they highlighted before I clicked on the article, and it's actually right here. And it's running around critical race theory. Now, I'm gonna skip a paragraph, a small paragraph, but it says, um, school boards are in fact just a point of spear in the culture wars targeted by the left and right as a choice objective for reshaping America's civil space. Civics have been a prime target in these campaigns, reshaping the American political identity as a precursor, to reshaping American politics. One of the most prominent controversies in the culture wars swirls around curriculum that would implement concepts introduced by critical race theory, which is a new term, by the way. All you brothers out there that haven't been familiar with it, I encourage you to look it up. I'm not going to go into it right now, but just on your own time, look up critical race theory, and you will see what kind of points they're trying to make with this uh, critical race theory doctrine. All right, it says the 1619 Project and anti-racist doctrine. These beliefs insist that our nation's civic structures are inherently oppressive, biased, and racist, which they are. I mean, that's really not up for discussion because it's like, why would I debate to whether the grass is green versus it being blue? It's kind of like one of those discussions, right? I mean, it's a stupid debate or argument. So it says these beliefs insist that our nation's civic structures are inherently oppressive, biased, and racist. Historical persons and events become fodder for this fight because historical memories are the billboards of these racist structures. They must be torn down. That's why the Randolph School Board went after Columbus. Now the thing is, um, so-called white people, they are actually um, looking to uphold their so-called holidays. All right, because it benefits them and is geared to celebrating or commemorating um, their conquering of us Israelites. So, that's one thing. But the simple fact that America, matter of fact, I'll get there first. Well, I was put up a precept I wanted to bring out. But America, all right, if you don't know, all right, America, it goes back to a so-called white man, right? Now, I'm going to read this on the online etymology dictionary. It says America, the Western Hemisphere, North and South America, and cartographer Martin Wildse Muller's treatise Cosmographiae Introductio. All right, it says from modern Latin Americanus after Amerigo Vespucci, 1454 to 1512, who made 2 trips to the New World as a navigator and claimed to have discovered it. Now, that's is no, or that's where you get the name America from, Amerigo Vespucci. Vespucci, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. First and foremost, that's how they get down, man. This whole America thing. America is not a nationality; it's a corporation, and it was started. All right, then, well, the inception of America um, is based upon oppression, racism, and bias, slavery, or enslavement of so-called Negroes, so-called Latino or Hispanics, so-called indigenous or so-called Native Americans, as you call us, right? But that's how this place was started, and it was named, by Amerigo Vespucci, as I just showed you. So, before I get this in Deuteronomy 19, let's go to the book of Psalms. All right, let's go to Psalms. Where I'm gonna go? I'm gonna go Psalms 49 and 11. And this is their mindset, by the way. So keep this in mind. Why they fighting to keep these so-called holidays of theirs intact, because all these holidays doesn't pertain to you Israelites out there, man. You celebrate the 4th of July. When the 4th of July was established, you were slaves, all of you. All right, slaves or quarantined on what you call reservations, right? Placed in the corners of the earth, being preyed upon by the so-called white man, Esau, Edom. So you don't have any independence or freedom. All right, it's all a lie. But you have Israelites out there who fight tooth and nail to uphold the so-called white man's so-called holiday, man. Right? Which doesn't make any sense at all, man. But anyways, Psalms chapter 49, verse 11, it says, their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names. Yeah. where it originally came from? No, you just seen it right here. From modern Latin Americanus after Amerigo Vespucci, 1454 to 1512. That's where you get the name America. See? When they got over here, those were not the names that the areas of the land was called. All right? We are already had land divided, or we basically was just sharing the land with each other. We brethren. You got Issachars over here. You got Ephraim. All those northern tribes. We was over here, and we just shared the land. It really wasn't no name calling. It just you needed some land. You go there, you build your house or whatever, what have you, and you till the land to make your agricultural needs, and that's what it was, man. All right, so um, that's one thing, right? And then when they got here, what did they do? As far as the Edomites, which was calling themselves Jewish, they was all Jewish, by the way. The so-called Jews are the ones that put us in slavery. They're the ones that took down us northern tribes and brought over the southern kingdom over here. And no, that wasn't a light thing. But then what they do when they got over here, they started changing things and naming things after themselves. That's why I'm going to go back to the book of Deuteronomy chapter 19, where I was at verse 13 or 14, I believe it was. Yeah, this is the law too, man. This shows you that Esau's a man of sin, man. And what is sin? Breaking the law of the Heavenly Father. All right. As it is written, that man of sin be revealed, right? All right. So Deuteronomy 19 and verse 14, it reads, "Thou shalt not remove thy neighbor's landmark, which they of old time have set in thine inheritance, which thou shalt inherit in the land that Yahweh thy power giveth thee to possess it." Right, excuse me. And so when we came out of old Egypt and we uh, proclaimed our land, which was for us, the Heavenly Father had promised and given to our fathers, we just claimed the land. But you had Israelites that was living in the lands that was or areas of the land, and you got to remember it was known as the land of Canaan, right? Hittites, Perizzites, Jebusites, so on and so forth. When we got there to claim our land, you had Israelites that actually were called, or add those names onto their name to represent the area of the land that they had came from. Because if you see an Israelite with a name on it, it may say Amorite, whatever, a Hittite, the Jebusite, whatever, and it was Israelite because they were living in the land that was occupied or inhabited by the Canaanites of whatever sect of the Canaanites that lived on that area of the land. But the landmark was never removed. Okay? So that's one thing. Now let's get that. All right, let's go. I'm just bear with me 1 second. Yeah, it's a good one right here. The book of Genesis, chapter 12, verse 5. It says, "And Abram," which later became Abraham, right? "And Abram took Sarai, his wife, and Lot, his brother's son, and all their substance that they had gathered, and the souls that they had gotten in Haran, and they went forth, and they went forth to go into the land of Canaan, and into the land of Canaan they came." So, fast forward to us coming out of the Egyptian captivity, we went into the land of Canaan, also known as what? The land of Israel. Right? But the point I'm making, or the reason I'm making this point, is because the Most High Heavenly Father had promised us, all right? He had promised us that land. And I want to get that too, because the Heavenly Father had promised us that land, and I'm going to get that. Because he said a land that flowed with milk and honey, right? Yeah, here we go. Exodus chapter 3 and 8, it says, "And I am come down." Well, let's go up a little bit. Let's get all right, let's get that clarity. Let's go to verse 6. It's like a good starting point. Exodus 3 and 6. Moreover, he said, I am the power of thy father, the power of Jacob, the power of Abraham, the power of Isaac, and the power of Jacob. And Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look upon the powers. Yeah, this is during the time when the Most High was raising up Moses. All right, and the Most High was he was dealing with Moses exclusively, right? Verse 7 it says, and Yahweh said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people which are in Egypt, and have heard their cry, by reason of their taskmasters, for I know their sorrows. And I am come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians, and to bring them up out of the land unto a good land, and a large, unto a land flowing with milk and honey, unto the place of the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites. See what I mean? So, like I said, the Most High brought us out of the Egyptian captivity and gave us the land of Canaan, which is already promised and prepared for us anyway. But we did not remove those landmarks. You see? What did Esau do? He removed landmarks. You see? And then he called him after his name. All right? He called them after their names. And that's what Esau does, man. And that's a clear example of him being a man of sin, because he's not supposed to do that, man. Like I said, it's against the Heavenly Father's law. All right? Does America oppress? Excuse me. Does America oppress us Israelites? Of course they do. That's the reason why Esau. Excuse me. That's why Esau have a hard time talking about history when it comes down to Israel, because the history of his Israelites under the so-called white man Esau, Edom, is all horrific terror of events that was being done to us, man. All right, so anyways, the book of Job, chapter 20, verse 19, it says, because he had oppressed and had forsaken the poor, because he had violently taken away an house which he builded not. Yeah, who done that? It's not the so-called white man to me, right? Did not he violently take away this land? The answer is yes. America was already a civil society, if you will. Before it was known as America. We had everything that we needed. We was okay. We knew how to till the land and move about the land. We had homes that we builded for ourselves and each other. And what did Esau do? He came over here. Well, what did he did? He came over here and he violently took him away. All right. So, I mean, what other proof do you have? All right. What other proof? I mean, not what other proof do you have, but what other proof do you want? You know. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. All right. The proof is definitely in the pudding. Now, that's another one. In fact, it's another one I want to grab. All right, this is the book of Zephaniah 3:1. It says, "Woe to her that is filthy and polluted, to the oppressing city." Now, if we wasn't an oppressed city, as far as this land we live in, why don't Esau allow us to create wealth for ourselves, while we're forced to live in ghettos and fucking reservations and shit like that? You know, why you can't get wealthy unless you go through Esau, Edom, and do all kind of satanic worship and rituals? The answer is because you've been oppressed. So what he'll do, he'll go and see an Israelite that have no morals. And you know what he'll do? Hey, you want to get out that ghetto? You want to get out of that slum? I see you got talent. Hey, look, tell you what, I'll let you work on your talent, man, and give you money, man. Just do this for me and worship Satan. All right, be an abuser of yourself with mankind, as far as you men of Israel that's in the entertainment world. Then what he'll do is give you all the riches you can obtain, so long as you abide by Esau's rules and code of conduct that he established for you tribes out there that want to obtain such riches. See, that's why King Solomon said, "Give me neither riches nor poverty." You know why? In this world, when you want riches, it's so much you have to do to gain them, right? So, me myself, my mindset is that I don't want to have riches. Just give me enough to sustain me for the day, and give me to tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day as it come. And I'll worry about tomorrow when it get there. I don't want to be comfortable in this society, because when you're comfortable, you lose sight of the kingdom. All right, the scriptures say, "Just run, waxing fat, and kicked." Right? If this wasn't a racist society, by the way, you wouldn't have it where neighborhoods were determined by the demographic of people, as far as the prices of the homes. All right, if you buy a home in an impoverished or a poverty-stricken area, it may be a good home. It may be a home that was well kept, maybe been added onto, but because it's in the poverty-stricken area, aka where Israelites heavily populate, well, their property value won't be much, because it's in the poverty-stricken area where they not going to they're not going to allow that price to go up like that. Even if you move to an Edomite area, the property value drops. That's racially biased with regard to property value. You see? So is this a theory? No, this is reality. All right, it's simply reality. All right, this is what we have to deal with. All right, on a day-to-day basis, man. What about your jobs, man? What about your jobs? Let's go to let's see. Let's go to Google. Critical race theory. Jobs. Who work the shittiest jobs? We do. Who get paid far less? We do. You gotta fight tooth and nail just to get a decent pay. It says on Google, critical race theory. Critical race theory, or CRT, is a body of legal scholarship and academic movement of civil rights scholars and activists in the United States that seeks to critically examine U.S. law as it intersects with issues of race in the U.S. and to challenge mainstream American liberal approaches to racial justice. First and foremost, if you was to do that, you got to rewrite the Constitution and all the laws in the books, which they're not going to do. So this is a void argument, like I said before. This is a void debate, man. They're not going to undo that. They're not going to undo all those laws and they're going to undo not going to undo the Constitution and law that keeps and protects their um what's the word I'm looking for, oppressive interests, where they can keep us down and keep them gaining riches and keep them prospering, where we steadily being poor and steadily living in poverty and steadily working day to day and living week to week. They're not gonna let Jake come up and be wealthy. Hell no. You see? And Esau know it. They know it. Psalms 58 and verse 1 says, "Do ye indeed speak righteousness, O congregation? Do ye judge uprightly, O ye sons of men? Yea, in the heart ye work wickedness, ye weigh the violence of your hands in the earth." Yeah, how are we contained into these places we live at? By violence. You're highly likely to get shot by a police officer if you go into the wrong area of the land. And when I mean the wrong area of the land, I mean the area where Edomites heavily populate, right? It says, verse 3, Salakia, verse 3, "The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies." Yeah, man. Everyone's equal. That's one of the biggest lies ever told, man. Also, another big lie that was ever told. You Negro, Latino, Native American, so-called, right? You know, those are so-called names, right? Oh, you guys are free. Well, show us we're free. Cause showing hell don't seem like we're free. We're not. I mean, we're definitely not sovereign. We have to live and abide by your laws, Esau. And your laws are on book to give us way more sentences for nonviolent crimes. Even if we didn't do the crime, you're set up to um, stick the crime to us, so you keep your high conviction rate up to keep your narrative of Jake being violent and all this old shit you call us. You know, just to make an excuse for you oppressing us. See, we're not equal and we're not free and we're not sovereign. All right, it says, verse 4, "Their poison is like the poison of a serpent. They are like the deaf adder that stoppeth her ear." Yeah. And that's plain, man, to the point, man. It says, verse 5, "Which will not hearken to the voice of charmers, charming never so wisely. Break their teeth, O Heavenly Father, in their mouth. Break out the great teeth of the young lions, O Yahweh, Bashem Yahushua. Let them melt away as waters which run continually. When he bendeth his bow to shoot his arrows, let them be as cut in pieces." Yeah. And that's exactly how I feel about you devils, man. For everything you done to us, man. I can't wait till Heavenly Father uh, liberate us indeed. Because we're not free, man. We don't have any liberty to do shit, man. Let's go. Let's see. Get this real quick. Bear me 1 second. Get that lighting fireworks as if they're free, man. Celebrate Esau's holiday, man. Let me let me get this preset real quick. Isaiah 61:1. The Spirit of the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua is upon me, because Yahweh had anointed me to preach good tidings unto the meek. He had sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, which is us Israelites, right? The good tidings is for us Israelites, right? That Yahweh Bashem Yahushua is getting ready to deliver his elect, first and foremost. And we're the meek of the earth. Those of us that believe in Yahweh Bashem Yahushua truly. It says, he has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives. Yeah, who the captives? We the captives. We the slaves. Still to this very day. We the ones that were handed over as property. We still property of the U.S. government or the U.S. corporation, which is owned and run by the central banking families, which call themselves Jewish. That is a fact. It says, he has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to them that are bound. Yeah, man. We've been bound here for a long time, man. Well, since the Renaissance, man. We've been bound, man. Verse 2, to proclaim the acceptable year of Yahweh and the day of vengeance of our power, to comfort all that mourn, to appoint unto them that mourn in Zion, to give unto them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they might be called trees of righteousness, the planting of Yahweh, that he might be glorified. And this is getting ready to take place, man. This is getting ready to be made manifest, man, because we're seeking Yahweh Bashem Yahushua power, and we're crying and complaining to our power about the things you do to us, Esau. He's going to come back and gather us by way of his son. All right, and the chariots, man. So we're not worried, man. We just got to endure this racial, oppressive, and violent regime of the so-called white man, Esau Edom. All right, so with that, Lord willing, you are edified in the spirit. Those of you that may have tuned in and watched or listened. And until next time, I want to say shalom.